This is the Megalodon. At 15 meters long and weighing 60 tons, this prehistoric shark was the undisputed king of the ocean until its extinction about 2 million years ago. And this is the Mosasaurus, a marine reptile from the Cretaceous period, also around 15 meters long. Both species used to be kings of their own domains, but now both are nothing but memories. Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about the very first kings of the wild, the ancient behemoths that preceded us. We'll try to find out how far these monsters got in the evolutionary race of life, and how they made it to the myths and legends of different nations. These are the biggest mammals that have ever existed. There have been quite a few of them throughout the history of our planet, and they've all been herbivores. This means that plant foods were enough to make them the rulers of the earth. And in terms of size, the leader among the contenders is the blue whale, which reaches 33 meters in length and weighs 190 tons. That's equivalent to about 33 adult elephants. But the blue whale isn't the only giant still alive. Among the other super heavyweights are the fin whale, the largest of the non-baleen whales, as well as the bowhead whale. It gets its name from its massive head, which makes up almost a quarter of its total body length. The largest specimen of the bowhead whale recorded was 18 meters long and weighed about 100 tons. But that's all compared to the ancestors of the modern whales. Here, the competition is much greater. According to scientists, 50 million years ago, the Tyrannosaurus was the heavyweight champion. This dinosaur could grow up to 30 meters long and weigh up to 110 tons. However, there are much more fantastic candidates. Meet the Tyrannosaurus. Growing up to 13 meters long, this prehistoric snake easily dealt with all rivals. After all, it weighed over 1,100 kilograms. Some scientists estimate that the weight of the Tyrannosaurus could reach 2,270 kilograms. The exact date of its extinction is unknown, but the last representatives of this species died out about 40,000 years ago. The Tyrannosaurus remains were discovered in Mexico and in the southern United States. It's hard to believe that something this big could really exist, but that's exactly what the ancient legends say. The ancient Greek poet Homer wrote about the battle between the Argonauts and the monster Typhon, which has the head of a lion, the torso of a man, the hind legs of a dragon, and the front paws of a lion. He described Typhon as a huge creature that Zeus tried to defeat with thunder and lightning, but the monster wasn't hurt at all. The only thing that helped the Olympians defeat Typhon was the fact that he burst apart from inhaling his own poisonous breath. Is this story a metaphorical description of a battle with a real animal? Who knows? But maybe it's best not to disturb the monsters sleeping under the ground and better to leave it to experts. That's what the hero of our story did, Georges Cuvier. Born in France in 1769, he's considered the founder of paleontology, the science of ancient fossils. This scientist proved that the mastodon was an actual animal that once roamed the earth rather than a mythological beast. In 1800, he described the first skeleton of a mastodon reconstructed from numerous fossil fragments. But most importantly, he concluded that this ancient creature actually existed. He was also the first to use the term primordial to refer to the distant past. Cuvier believed that the world went through several periods of formation and destruction, and that life arose again after each such catastrophe. So he became one of the first supporters of the theory of evolution, even though he didn't know Darwin personally and never saw his book on the origin of species. But let's get back to the mastodons. These huge mammals first appeared on the continents 25 million years ago. The largest species of mastodon, the American mastodon, could reach 4 meters in height. And if it stood on its hind legs, it would be taller than a giraffe. Mastodons lived in Eurasia, Africa, North and South America. They disappeared from Europe and Asia about 10,000 years ago, and from the Americas about 10,000 years ago. As mentioned before, the mastodons were herbivorous, but some of them preferred a more varied diet. Their molars were sharp like knives and could cut meat. Moreover, according to DNA analysis, mastodons hunted and ate horses, deer, and other ungulates. Scientists think that these were isolated cases, and most likely they were just sick mastodons. A lot of myths and legends are dedicated to the mammoth, but in fact, there were many of these large mammals, and they were all similar to each other. Woolly mammoths are known to be the most famous. They lived in Eurasia and North America during the Pleistocene epoch. A full-grown male could be over 3 meters tall at the shoulder, and weigh up to 12 tons. However, mammoths were not only large, they were also very strong. They could lift heavy boulders and move them over long distances, probably because the mammoth's shoulders were very powerful. In adulthood, the muscles of the shoulders of these mammals were so developed that they were capable of lifting loads up to 10 tons. In addition to their strength, woolly mammoths were also very intelligent animals. They were able to recognize themselves in the mirror, which proves their high level of intelligence. But unfortunately, the woolly mammoths went extinct about 10,000 years ago. And this happened not only because of the Ice Age, but also because of people. Yes, woolly mammoths were strong, but they were definitely no match for humans. The remains of these mammals were found in Siberia, where the climate is still freezing cold, just like it was 10,000 years ago. Perhaps some of the mammoths managed to survive in the Arctic Circle, or maybe they were killed by people living on the periphery of the tundra. And meanwhile, far away in the south, another giant reigns. Meet the Glyptodon. This mammal resembled a Volkswagen Beetle. Its upper body was covered in armor and the tail and neck were encased in bony rings. These creatures could weigh about 2 tons. No wonder they went extinct only 10,000 years ago. But even this wasn't too much of a problem for humans. Just imagine what would happen if the ancient people stumbled upon the same Stegosaurus. The first thing they would notice would be the plates running down the animal's back. They looked like a kind of second skeleton. But the main attraction of the Stegosaurus was the tail. It ended with 4 large spikes that looked like daggers. The Stegosaurus was 9 meters long and weighed 2 tons. Scientists think that the spikes served to scare off predators, although that didn't help the Stegosaurus live longer. It went extinct 76 million years ago. And the reason for this was probably the asteroid that caused the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event. But you can't talk about the kings of the wild without mentioning dinosaurs. After all, it was they who were the real rulers of the Earth. These giant reptiles first appeared about 230 million years ago and dominated the planet for 165 million years. That's longer than any other group of animals has ruled the Earth, and it was the largest group of vertebrates that ever lived. Dinosaurs ranged from tiny to gigantic. The smallest of them, the Herrerasaurus, was 2 meters long, while the largest, the Argentinosaurus, reached 40 meters long and weighed 100 tons. Some dinosaurs fed on plants, while others, like the Giganotosaurus, preferred a different diet. This predator could grow up to 13 meters long, and although it weighed only 7 tons, it was still twice as heavy as a person. Also, the Giganotosaurus had disproportionately large and powerful jaws. It could easily deal with prey twice its size. One day, the Giganotosaurus met a rival in the form of the Mapusaurus. It was a huge carnivorous dinosaur that lived in the territory of modern Patagonia. Scientists suggest that the Giganotosaurus and Mapusaurus competed for food. But what if they decided to join forces? Imagine what would happen if 2 Giganotosaurs joined together. Would they become the real kings of the wild? I think so. But alas, this alliance never happened. The Giganotosaurus went extinct about 97 million years ago. The Mapusaurus survived for another 10 million years, and then both species fell victim to the asteroid that fell from space. People always try to make sense of the things they don't understand, and sometimes this desire leads to the creation of really bizarre creatures. For example, the chupacabra. This is a kind of dog-like monster that supposedly lives in Puerto Rico. Locals claim that the chupacabra attacks goats and sucks their blood. Or maybe this is a sick dog suffering from mange. Another strange monster is the Jersey Devil. People say that it's the offspring of a woman who gave birth to 13 children and cursed God. She said that the 13th child would be born in the form of a terrible monster, and that's exactly what happened. This is what the legend says, and this is what the picture shows. But in reality, the Jersey Devil looks like a dog. In fact, there have been countless sightings of this creature, and it continues to baffle scientists to this day. Maybe it's a genetic mutation of some domestic animal, or maybe it doesn't exist at all. That's all for today. Remember, everything we told you is based on facts, but we never said it was easy to understand them. You can become the king of the wild if you hit that like button right now. Bye.